done seeing probably what is going to be the best comedy of 2023. It comes out on July 7th, and it is called Joyride. This is directed by Adele Lim, first-time director. She's written quite a few things like Raya and the Last Dragon, Crazy Rich Asians, and also this film, and it follows four Asian American friends as they bond and discover the truth of what it means to know and love who you are while they travel through Asia in search of one of their birth mothers. And ever since this premiered at South by Southwest, it instantly shot up to one of my most anticipated films for the year. The trailer came out, I saw it was coming out in the summer, and I loved the trailer. And I cannot express enough, like, I went into this movie with very high expectations, but what I went into this was expecting, alright, I'm gonna get some laughs, I'm probably gonna get some emotional moments, and I'm gonna walk out having a good time. I did not expect to come out of this film buzzing as much as I am with how hard I laughed at this film. This is a movie that is probably one of the most jokes a minute movies that I've seen where it just constantly gives you a joke and each and every single one of them lands. But at the same part of it, it has a great runtime and also an emotional core to it. And I'm very excited to talk about this movie today, and I cannot wait to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. So make sure to leave your thoughts. Are you excited for Joyride? Have you not heard about this film? Because if you have not, I will not forgive anyone who does not see this movie in theaters and supports it, because films like this absolutely deserve it. We do not get enough raunchy comedies in theaters anymore, and this is as raunchy as you could get nowadays, and it's absolutely timeless. Like, this is going to be one of my most rewatched comedies the second I get it on a Blu-ray. I'm just gonna keep popping it in and watching it and laughing my butt off the entire way through. Obviously, with that opening, if you can't tell how much I love this movie is like one of my favorites of the year. And starting out with this, I really want to talk about the performances, because I think that is actually one of the parts that I was so excited to see, is that every single one of the actresses in here really get their time to shine. In a way, the best way to compare this movie is, in some ways, it's a little bit of The Hangover, a little bit of Booksmart, a little bit of Girls Trip, all kind of mixed into one, but in its own style and flair to its own. And these four really show that chemistry, even when they are at odds with one another, because as a part of this, three of them, or really much for the most part, one of them is close with two of them, one of them's kind of the outsider, and the way that they kind of all get intersected and pushed together is at the center of the story, friendship. And that's one of the parts that I really liked, is the messaging and themes around this, which we're going to talk about. But starting with the performances, let's talk about Ashley Park. This is the leading character. Ashley Park is great in here. I really liked her performances in anything I've seen before, but in this movie in particular, she is the emotional core. They are heading out to Asia to, do a deal with her for her job, but in the end of the day, also find out where she came from, because she was adopted. And for me, I actually found that story was very touching, and her performance really gave to that. And without her emotional core to this film, I think the film would have lacked a little bit of depth to it all. And I think Park, without this character and without her performance, this film would not work in the way it does. Alongside that, Sherry Cola has done a really good job the last few years. Now, I just saw her in a film at Sundance earlier this year called Shortcomings, which I thought was absolutely not my personal cup of tea, but she was really good in it, and she was honestly probably the best part about it all. Streak continues in here because she plays the best friend to Ashley Park, and you really much see that two friends who kind of bonded together and grew up with one another really goes to that certain length, and I was, again, very impressed with her performance, and she is absolutely hilarious, whether it's just her comedic timing to even some of her movements that she does. She has the physical comedy down, again, as well as the verbal comedy, and I love it. The characters that I was a little bit iffy on while watching the trailer, I was like, oh, we got this socially awkward person who's played by Sabrina Wu. I have to say the least, I love what they did with this character, and I think Wu was fantastic, and honestly, probably has some of my favorite moments throughout the entire film. Just certain lines, certain dialogues, and the way that they intersect inside the entire story was just delightful. My favorite actress going into this film, because I've been a major fan of hers from Marvelous Miss Maisel, I was cheering for her at the Oscars during Everything Everywhere All at Once, that is Stephanie Hsu, who I think is also just phenomenal in here. Again, the comedic timing's down, the physical comedy is down. They go places with this. There is a scene in this, which I'm jumping ahead too far. I want to stick on her performance for a second, but she's incredible. Their chemistry all works together. Every little moment in here brings it to life. And that all again goes down to the script, which is so smart, so delicate, and handles everything in a great manner, which again is raunchy, emotional, energetic, and all of that bottled into one. And every moment just gets funnier and funnier. Like, from instantly the first 5 minutes, I was hooked into the comedy that they were doing this. And no matter where you are from, no matter who you are, you will find something to relate to in this, and you will be able to laugh at it hysterically. And I cannot believe where they went with this film. Like, there is a moment within the comedy, and to say this, there is not one flat joke in here. Even, like, some jokes about K-pop, which I'm not, like, I don't know really much anything about K-pop whatsoever. Like, I'm not into that genre of music whatsoever. I understood all the jokes. Like, there is one joke in this film that centers all on that, and it goes on for quite a bit. And at first I was like, this could be so cringy. And maybe it'll be cringy for some, because comedy is subjective, but these four make it work so well. And the ending punchline to this entire running gag is probably one of the most shocking things in the entire film that I just can't get the imagery out of my head. And that moment and the shocking moment and revelation to everyone else's reactions. It was hysterical. And there's even, like, if you remember the movie Sausage Party, like the entire last 10 minutes with the food and everything they were doing, there's a moment like this in here that the way that it was edited together continued and brought the laughs all together. And I think editing is very important in a comedy, whether it is the audio editing, whether it's the actual movie editing itself. I think that's something that we don't talk about a lot, and the editing in Joyride is so stellar because the way that the movie flows and is paced, and that every joke just seamlessly moves through. And while maybe you can see something coming up, like, okay, there's like this part where they go on a train and you're watching it, and they're going through each rooms, and obviously one of the characters is, like, you know, judging a book by its cover, and they get to the one person, they're like, oh, this person's gonna be fine, but us as the audience know something is wrong with this scenario. And it goes to an area that, while you may see coming, the way that that whole area elevated it ends in a way that's outrageous, and it's outrageously funny, but then that whole moment ties to the next big joke. And there's something that happens in there that ties to Stephanie Hsu's character that I shit you not, I almost, like, pissed my pants laughing. Like, I was dying laughing. And it was great to see my fiance and her sister sit there laughing their asses off as well, and being in a theater full of people laughing. It was hysterical. I love this movie so much. Again, you can probably tell that. I've talked about the jokes, I've talked about the performances. Something I do want to talk about, though, is the emotional core to it all. And I think that's one thing a lot of comedies do miss, is sometimes that central buddiness of it all. Now, this film obviously has these four girls, and you really much believe as them as friends. And when I look at them as in their friendship, and specifically how certain things are starting to bond and how people are starting to come together, even Sword the Outsider, played by Sabrina Wu, and how they're coming into their group, the thing that I really loved is, you know, the search for who you are, the search for finding where you came from, the truth of that all. And Ashley Park's performance in here was really well done because it came for her real mother. And throughout this entire story, when you come down to the revelation and the end of that storyline, it is actually very profound, and I can see many people getting very emotional during that point. I think trying to figure out and love who you are for who you are, that is a big aspect of this all that every single one of the characters deals with because of certain things in their past or certain things going on in their present. That, again, Adele Lim, the director in here, really needs a lot of credit for specifically how she directed those moments and brought them to life. Because emotional core moments like this, at one point when it started happening, going towards the dramatic route, it was something I clearly saw coming because every comedy kind of has this. But the way it kind of chugged along, it felt very abrupt from all the humor that we were just getting. But the way that they actually intersected it and brought it to life and rang it to life felt very real. And I think that's something that we forget, is that we can go from laughs and joking and smiling to the next second being a very emotional and touching moment. That's life itself. Life can be a roller coaster. And I think this film actually expresses that, and specifically in such a small runtime of only like an hour and 33 minutes. That is something to be said. And again, the pacing moves it along, the characters move it along, the direction, the writing moves it along, the editing is top notch, and again, ties the jokes, ties the emotional core to it all. And I really love how it all plays out by the very end and how you really feel for it. And the only nitpick I can give this film, I wish it was longer. I genuinely wish it was longer. And maybe I'm saying that but just because I want to spend so much more time with these characters. And in reality, it's not really even an issue, because I felt satisfied leaving this theater. I felt so energized. I felt so excited. And I just felt ready to buzz about this film. This is a movie. This is a comedy that reminds me why I love going to the movies. Reminds me why I love going to see a comedy in theaters, surrounded by strangers that maybe I only have my 2 friends or my fiance or a family member with me, but everyone else is a stranger to me. And hearing them all laugh and being in that crowded collective room. That's what makes the movie so special. And Joyride really reminded me of that. And I think, again, this will be the best comedy of 2023. And honestly, it's my favorite comedy I've seen probably since 2019. This is personally my favorite comedy of 2023, and I don't see anything else beating it. And it is honestly a perfect comedy. So with all that said, I'm going to give this film an A+. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. Make sure to leave your thoughts down below. Hit that like and subscribe button for more. And of course, until next time, stay classy.